The unexpected discovery. Jack's boots splashed through the murky water as he moved deeper into the abandoned sewer tunnels beneath New York City. The dim glow of his flashlight flickered, casting eerie shadows on the damp brick walls. He had been exploring these tunnels for years, but tonight felt different. The air was heavy, thick with the smell of mold and rusted metal. Something about this place made his skin crawl. He had taken a wrong turn. He was sure of it. The map he had printed out was useless now. The tunnels twisted and stretched in ways he hadn't expected. Then he heard it. A whisper. Jack froze. His breath caught in his throat as his ears strained to hear more. It wasn't the usual sound of dripping water or rats scurrying in the darkness. No, this was something else. It was soft, almost musical, like voices speaking in a language he didn't understand. He turned off his flashlight. He didn't know why. Maybe instinct, maybe fear. He pressed himself against the wall, listening. The voices were close. They were coming from around the next corner. Slowly, he crept forward. His heart pounded in his chest. He peeked around the bend and saw them. 3 figures, glowing faintly in the darkness. Jack's mind struggled to make sense of what he was seeing. They weren't human. They were tall, slender, with smooth, iridescent skin that shimmered with colors that shifted as they moved. Their eyes were large, luminous, and filled with something Jack couldn't quite name. Fear. Hope. One of them gasped when she saw him. She had delicate features, silver blue skin, and deep violet eyes. Her long, flowing hair seemed to float around her as if underwater. The other 2 stepped in front of her, their expressions wary, defensive. Jack raised his hands. I don't want any trouble." His voice came out hoarse. He wasn't even sure if they could understand him. The tallest of the 3, with emerald green skin and piercing golden eyes, spoke first. Her voice was soft but urgent. "Don't scream," she whispered. "Please." Jack swallowed hard. He had seen a lot of weird things in his life, but this was something else. What? He licked his lips, trying to steady himself. "Who? What are you?" Before they could answer, a new sound filled the tunnels. Footsteps. Heavy boots marching in unison. The alien girls tensed, their glowing skin dimmed as if trying to blend into the shadows. Jack didn't move. His pulse pounded in his ears. Whoever was coming, they weren't friendly. The footsteps grew louder. A voice echoed through the tunnel. They couldn't have gone far. "Spread out. Find them." Jack's blood turned cold. They were being hunted. The violet-eyed girl grabbed his arm. Her touch was warm, her fingers delicate yet strong. "We have to go. Now." Jack didn't argue. He didn't know who these girls were or why they were hiding, but one thing was clear. If they got caught, it wouldn't end well. Without another word, he followed them into the darkness. The escape plan. Jack's breath came fast and shallow as he sprinted through the sewer tunnels, following the 3 alien girls deeper into the unknown. His mind raced with questions, but there was no time to stop and ask. The sound of heavy boots echoed behind them, growing louder. Whoever was chasing them was getting closer. The violet-eyed girl, the one who had grabbed his arm, led the way. She moved with a strange grace, almost floating over the damp ground. Jack stumbled as he tried to keep up. "Where are we going?" he hissed, barely able to keep his voice down. "The deeper tunnels," the emerald-skinned girl replied. Her golden eyes glowed in the dark, scanning for danger. "If we reach them, we can lose them." Jack wasn't sure if that was a good plan or not. He had spent years exploring these tunnels, but even he didn't know how deep they went. Some said the oldest sections of the city's underground had been sealed off decades ago. Others believed there were tunnels so ancient that no maps existed. But right now, they had no choice. A sharp turn, a rusted ladder, a narrow passage barely big enough for a person to squeeze through. The girls moved fast, slipping through cracks and hidden pathways, as if they had lived down here for years. Jack had no idea how they knew where to go, but he followed them anyway. Then, disaster struck. A sudden burst of light flooded the tunnel ahead, blinding him. Jack threw up his arm to shield his eyes. Flashlights. "Stop right there," a deep voice shouted. Jack's heart slammed into his ribs. The agents had cut them off. A moment of panic. The alien girls froze. Their glowing skin pulsed with fear. Jack turned. No escape. Footsteps thundered from behind them. The agents were closing in fast. They were trapped between two forces, with nowhere to run. "Great," Jack muttered. "We're dead." But then something unbelievable happened. The violet-eyed girl, who had seemed the most fragile, stepped forward. She lifted her hands. A soft hum filled the air. The light from the agents' flashlights flickered, then went out completely. Total darkness. Jack barely had time to react before the emerald-skinned girl grabbed his wrist. "Run." Still blinded, Jack let them pull him forward. His feet barely touched the ground as they raced through the darkness. The agents shouted in confusion behind them. Where did they go? "Get the lights back on." Jack's mind reeled. What just happened? The violet-eyed girl had done something impossible. She had extinguished the light with just a wave of her hand. But there was no time to think about it. Jack stumbled as they turned another corner. The air grew thicker, heavier. The tunnels ahead were ancient, untouched for decades, maybe even centuries. The walls were covered in strange markings, symbols Jack didn't recognize. He pressed a hand against the wall to steady himself. The stone felt warm. "We're almost there," the emerald-skinned girl whispered. Jack didn't know where there was, but at this point, he didn't care. Anything was better than getting caught. Finally, the tunnel opened up into a vast underground chamber. Jack's breath caught in his throat. The space was massive, far bigger than he had expected. The ceiling stretched high above them, barely visible in the dim glow of the alien girl's skin. Strange metal structures lined the walls, covered in dust and vines. It looked like an old, abandoned facility. "Where are we?" Jack asked, panting. The silver-blue girl, who had been silent until now, stepped forward. Her violet eyes shimmered with an unreadable expression. "This was once a human place," she said softly. "But now, it belongs to no one." Jack turned in a slow circle, taking it all in. This place wasn't on any map. It had been forgotten, buried beneath the city for who knew how long. But the real question wasn't what this place was. It was why the alien girls had brought him here. And more importantly, what they were running from. Jack was about to ask when a distant sound made his blood run cold. A low, guttural growl. Something else was down here with them. And it was not human. Secrets of the underground. The growl echoed through the cavernous chamber, low and guttural, like a predator stalking its prey. Jack stiffened, his breath hitching as his instincts screamed danger. He had no idea what kind of creature could survive this deep underground, but from the way the three alien girls tensed, it was clear they knew exactly what it was. The violet-eyed girl, the one who had extinguished the lights earlier, turned sharply. "We have to move. Now." Jack barely had time to process her words before the silver-blue girl grabbed his wrist and pulled him forward. The chamber stretched out before them, a maze of forgotten technology and rusted catwalks. Dust and old vines clung to the walls, and the air smelled of metal and decay. Behind them, the growl came again, closer this time. Jack risked a glance over his shoulder. In the shadows beyond, something massive was moving. He could hear it, heavy, deliberate steps, the scrape of claws against stone. It wasn't human. It wasn't even like the aliens. It was something else. The emerald-skinned girl darted ahead, leading the group past rusted pillars and broken consoles. She moved fast, but she wasn't running blindly. She knew this place. She had been here before. Jack's mind raced. How? Had they been hiding in these tunnels for a long time? Had they lived down here, in this forgotten place, while the city above carried on, completely unaware? Left, the Emerald Girl hissed. Jack followed without thinking, his boots clinging against the remains of an old metal bridge. Below them, darkness stretched deep into an abyss. A single misstep, and they'd fall into nothingness. "Where are we even going?" Jack demanded, trying to keep up. The violet-eyed girl glanced at him. "Somewhere safe." Jack wanted to argue that nowhere down here felt safe, but before he could speak, the creature behind them let out a deafening snarl. Then it charged. Jack felt the vibrations through the metal beneath his feet. He risked another glance and saw glowing yellow eyes piercing through the darkness. The creature was massive, its hulking form barely visible, but it was fast, far faster than anything that size should have been. Jack's heart slammed against his ribs. "We are so dead." But the Emerald Girl wasn't panicking. Instead, she reached into a small pouch strapped to her waist and pulled out what looked like a metallic disc. Without hesitation, she threw it to the ground. The moment it hit, the disc pulsed with blue light, sending out a shockwave of energy. The creature behind them let out a furious roar as its massive body slammed into an invisible barrier. Sparks crackled in the air, and for a split second, Jack caught a glimpse of it. A monstrous, almost reptilian creature, its skin covered in thick, armored plates. Its elongated jaw was lined with razor-sharp teeth, its claws curved and deadly. And then, just as fast as it appeared, the creature vanished into the shadows. Jack stood frozen, his chest rising and falling in rapid breaths. What the hell was that? The Emerald Girl exhaled, as if she had been holding her breath the entire time. "A hunter," she said grimly. "One of many." Jack looked between the three girls. "You mean there's more of those things down here?" The silver-blue girl nodded solemnly. "And they are drawn to us." Jack ran a hand through his hair. "Fantastic. Just fantastic." The violet-eyed girl touched his arm gently. "Come. We can't stay here." Jack had about 1,000,000 questions, but now wasn't the time to ask them. He followed as they moved deeper into the facility. The tunnels were no longer just tunnels. The deeper they went, the more it became clear this wasn't just an abandoned underground structure. This was something much older. Jack ran his fingers along the walls as they walked. The material wasn't concrete or metal like he had expected. It felt smooth, like polished stone, but it was too perfect, too unnatural to be something humans had built. He frowned. "What is this place?" The silver-blue girl hesitated, then finally spoke. "It was a research facility." Jack's eyebrows shot up. "A research facility? Built this deep underground?" She nodded. "A long time ago, humans found something. Artifacts from an ancient civilization. They built this place around it to study them." Jack stopped walking. Wait. You're telling me this place is older than New York City itself?" The Emerald Girl glanced at him. "Much older." Jack let out a slow breath. This was insane. He had spent years exploring forgotten tunnels and lost places under the city. But this was beyond anything he had ever imagined. Then the violet-eyed girl spoke softly. "And the worst part?" Jack turned to her. "There's something worse than the monster that just tried to eat us." She nodded. Her luminous eyes were filled with something that made Jack's stomach tighten. "This place isn't abandoned," she said. Jack frowned. "What do you mean?" The girl's expression darkened. "Someone is still down here." Jack felt a chill creep down his spine. "You mean the agents?" The silver-blue girl shook her head. "No." Jack looked at them all. "Then who?" The Emerald Girl's voice was barely above a whisper. "The ones who built it." Jack's pulse pounded. "You're saying the ancient civilization that made this place is still—" A distant clang interrupted him. Jack immediately turned toward the sound. It wasn't the hunters. It wasn't the agents. It was something else. Somewhere, deep in the darkness ahead, a door had just opened, and someone, or something, was coming out. The betrayal. The metallic clang echoed through the ancient tunnels, sending a chill down Jack's spine. He turned toward the sound, his heart pounding. The alien girls stiffened, their glowing eyes scanning the shadows. Something was coming. Jack swallowed hard. Tell me that was just the wind. The silver-blue girl shook her head. No wind reaches this deep. The silence stretched, thick with tension. Jack could hear his own heartbeat hammering in his ears. Then, another sound. A slow, deliberate step. Jack instinctively stepped back. Whoa! He corrected himself. Or what is that? The emerald-skinned girl narrowed her golden eyes. If we're lucky, it's not one of them. Jack didn't like the sound of that. And if we're not lucky? The silver-blue girl clenched her jaw. Then we run. Jack had lost count of how many times they had already run tonight. But before he could ask more, the shadows ahead shifted. A shape emerged. Tall, human-shaped, but not quite right. Jack's breath hitched. A person. No, something else. It was humanoid, wrapped in a tattered cloak that dragged across the ground. The face was hidden beneath a dark hood, but Jack could see something underneath. Glowing metallic lines ran across what should have been skin. A voice crackled from beneath the hood, metallic and ancient. You should not be here. Jack's fingers curled into fists. Yeah, well, neither should you. The figure tilted its head, considering him. You are different. You do not belong with them. Jack frowned. With who? The silver-blue girl stepped forward. It's a sentinel. Her voice was barely above a whisper. Jack turned to her. A what? The emerald-skinned girl answered. A guardian of this place, one of the few that still function. Jack felt a sinking feeling in his gut. Still function. He turned back to the figure. So, it's a machine. The sentinel's glowing eyes flickered. I am not a machine. I am a relic of the past, a keeper of what should remain hidden. Jack swallowed. Great, and I'm guessing you don't want us poking around here. The sentinel didn't answer. Instead, it took a step closer. The air around it hummed with energy. Jack felt his skin tingle, like standing too close to an exposed electrical wire. You are trespassing, the sentinel said. Turn back or be removed. Jack glanced at the alien girls. Yeah, so what's the plan here? Because I'm really not in the mood to fight a centuries-old robo-ghost. The emerald-skinned girl took a slow breath. We don't fight. We negotiate. Jack raised an eyebrow. Negotiate. It just said it's going to remove us. The silver-blue girl stepped forward. Her violet eyes gleamed. We know what's buried here. We know the truth. For the first time, the sentinel hesitated. Jack frowned. The truth. Before he could ask, the emerald-skinned girl spoke again. The artifacts your kind protected, they are not just objects. They are living technology. Jack's stomach twisted. Living technology. The sentinel's glowing eyes flared. You know too much. Jack took a step back. Okay, so this is where we run, right? But before anyone could move, the sentinel raised a metallic hand. The air crackled with energy. Jack had no time to react. A force, unseen but powerful, slammed into his chest. He flew backward, hitting the ground hard. Pain exploded through his ribs. The alien girls tried to react. The silver-blue girl lifted her hands, and suddenly, the lights in the chamber flickered out. Darkness swallowed them whole. Jack gasped for breath. He couldn't see a thing. Not to complain, he groaned. But I'd really prefer if I could see the thing that's trying to kill us. A hand grabbed his wrist. Warm. Familiar. The violet-eyed girl. Come, she whispered. We have to go. Jack didn't argue. He let her pull him up, his ribs aching with every step. The air around them buzzed as the sentinel moved in the darkness, searching for them. You cannot hide, its metallic voice echoed. But the silver-blue girl did something then. She placed both hands on the ground. And suddenly, a deep, resonating pulse spread through the chamber. Jack felt it in his bones. The walls trembled. The air thickened. Then, a hidden door behind them slid open. Jack didn't ask questions. He ran. The alien girls followed, slipping through the passage just as the sentinel lunged. The door slammed shut behind them. Jack leaned against the wall, gasping. Okay, what the hell was that? The emerald-skinned girl looked at him, her golden eyes burning with intensity. A warning, she said. We are not alone down here. Jack ran a hand through his hair. Yeah, I figured that much. The silver-blue girl's expression was grim. That was just a sentinel. The real threat is still ahead. Jack exhaled sharply. Great, so what are we dealing with next? A killer eye? A prehistoric alien god? Maybe a city of underground lizard people? The violet-eyed girl met his gaze. No, she said quietly. Jack's pulse quickened. Then what? She hesitated, then spoke one word. Humans. Jack froze. Wait, humans. The emerald-skinned girl nodded. Not like you. Not like the agents above. The silver-blue girl's voice was barely a whisper. They were left down here a long time ago. Jack's stomach twisted. You're saying there's an entire group of people trapped underground? The violet-eyed girl's expression darkened. Not trapped, she said. They stayed by choice. Jack felt a chill crawl up his spine. The silver-blue girl looked deeper into the passageway ahead. And now, they don't take kindly to outsiders. A deep, distant sound rumbled through the tunnels. A human voice. Low. Commanding. They're coming. The government's true plan. Jack's breath came fast and shallow as he followed the alien girls deeper into the forgotten tunnels. The air was heavy, thick with dust, and an eerie sense of something ancient, something watching. The silver-blue girl, whose name he still didn't know, kept her glowing violet eyes forward, moving swiftly but cautiously. The emerald-skinned girl walked beside Jack, her golden gaze sharp and alert. The violet-eyed girl, the one who had first touched his arm back in the sewers, stayed close, as if she expected danger at any moment. Jack's mind was spinning. Humans, not the agents, not aliens, but other humans. People who had stayed down here, hidden for who knew how long. Are we just going to walk right into them? Jack whispered, barely able to keep the unease out of his voice. No, the emerald girl said. We're going to avoid them, if we can. Jack frowned. And if we can't? The silver-blue girl hesitated before answering. Then we hope they remember they were once like you. Jack didn't like the sound of that. The tunnels twisted and stretched before them. The walls lined with ancient carvings, symbols Jack didn't recognize. Some looked human, others, decidedly not. The deeper they went, the more he felt like they were stepping into a place that should have been left alone. Then, suddenly, voices. Jack stopped dead in his tracks. Human voices, low murmurs echoing from somewhere ahead. The alien girls halted too, their bodies tensed. Jack strained to listen. It wasn't the harsh military tone of the agents above. This was something else. Calm. Precise. Whispered. The silver-blue girl motioned for silence, then led them toward a rusted metal grate embedded in the tunnel wall. Carefully, she pressed her fingers against the edge and peeled it back just enough for them to see through. Jack leaned forward, and his stomach dropped. Beyond the grate was a massive, hidden underground complex. Rows of lights lined the ceiling, humming faintly. Strange machines sat scattered throughout, blinking with displays that didn't look like any Earth technology Jack had ever seen. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the people. They weren't dressed like the agents above. Their clothes were ragged, stitched together from whatever material they could scavenge. Their skin was pale, their eyes hollow. They looked human, but at the same time, wrong. Jack's fingers tightened around the edge of the grate. What the hell am I looking at? The emerald-skinned girl's voice was quiet, solemn. The forgotten. Jack swallowed. They're the ones who stayed. The silver-blue girl nodded. A long time ago, when this place was first built, there were those who refused to leave. Scientists, workers, those who became part of something bigger than themselves. Jack frowned. They don't look like scientists. The violet-eyed girl exhaled slowly. They are not. Anymore. Jack watched as the forgotten moved through the underground complex, their eyes empty, their movements robotic. He felt a deep unease settle in his gut. Then his gaze landed on something that made his stomach turn. A containment chamber. It stood at the center of the underground base, a massive glass tube filled with a strange, pulsing blue liquid. And inside, Jack's breath caught. There was another alien, a fourth one. Unlike the three girls beside him, this one was locked away, floating in the liquid like a specimen in a jar. Their skin was a deep crimson, their body limp. Jack turned to the alien girls, his voice sharp. What is that? The silver-blue girl's face was tense, her eyes burning with anger. A prisoner. Jack's jaw clenched. So they're experimenting on your kind. The emerald-skinned girl's expression was grim. They always have been. Jack felt his fists tighten. He had seen some messed up things in his life, but this was something else. Then the worst realization hit him. This isn't just some abandoned lab, he muttered. The government still runs this place. The agents upstairs. They're not just hunting you. The silver-blue girl met his gaze. No, they are protecting this. Jack felt sick. That means they knew about this place. They let it keep running. The violet-eyed girl nodded. For decades. Jack exhaled sharply. This wasn't just about the aliens anymore. This was about control. The government wasn't just keeping this place a secret. They were actively using it. Jack turned back to the scene below. He could see the forgotten moving around the containment chamber, adjusting controls, checking readings. They weren't just captives. They were part of the experiment. Jack clenched his fists. We have to get them out of there. The emerald-skinned girl looked at him sharply. Who? Jack gestured toward the containment chamber. The alien in that tank. And the people down there. They don't deserve this. The silver-blue girl's expression darkened. You don't understand. The forgotten are not the same as they once were. Jack shook his head. I don't care. Nobody deserves to be stuck down here, experimented on like some kind of lab rat. The violet-eyed girl studied him for a long moment. Then, finally, she nodded. Then we do it quickly, she said, because if the agents realize we're down here, they won't let any of us leave alive. Jack swallowed. They were about to break into one of the most classified government facilities in existence. And if they got caught, there would be no way back. The final chase. Jack's heart pounded like a drum in his chest as he crouched behind the rusted metal grate, watching the forgotten move through the underground facility. The glowing containment chamber in the center of the room pulsed with an eerie blue light, casting long shadows on the walls. Inside, the fourth alien floated motionless, suspended in the strange liquid. Jack turned to the alien girls, his voice low but urgent. How do we get them out of there? The silver-blue girl studied the chamber, her violet eyes scanning the strange technology surrounding it. It won't be easy. That chamber is locked with high-security protocols. If we trigger an alert. She didn't finish, but Jack didn't need her to. If they were caught, there wouldn't be a second chance. The emerald-skinned girl pressed a hand against the wall. There's an access panel near the back of the facility. If we can reach it, I can override the system and unlock the containment chamber. Jack nodded. All right. Sounds like a plan. But what about them? He gestured toward the forgotten. The pale, hollow-eyed people working mindlessly in the room below. The violet-eyed girl's expression was unreadable. They are not prisoners in the way you think. They chose to stay. Jack stared at her. They chose this. The silver-blue girl's voice was soft. A long time ago, they believed in something greater than themselves. The government promised them purpose, knowledge, a role in something bigger than the world above. Jack's stomach twisted. And now they're just empty. The emerald-skinned girl nodded. They have become part of the machine. If you try to wake them, they will resist you. They will fight for the very people who abandoned them. Jack exhaled sharply. This wasn't just a rescue mission. It was a suicide run. But there was no turning back now. The violet-eyed girl placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. If we do this, we must be fast. The agents above will realize something is wrong soon. Jack took a deep breath and nodded. Then let's move. Breaking in. They crept along the edge of the tunnel, keeping to the shadows as they approached the entrance hatch to the underground facility. The emerald-skinned girl moved first, pressing a small metallic device against the control panel. The screen flickered, and after a tense moment, the lock released with a quiet click. Jack barely breathed as they stepped inside. The facility smelled of stale air and chemicals, the walls lined with old screens displaying data in a language he didn't understand. The machines hummed softly, their lights blinking like mechanical eyes. The Forgotten didn't react to their presence. They moved with slow, deliberate motions, adjusting dials, monitoring the containment chamber. Jack felt a chill creep down his spine. They weren't looking at anything. They were just moving, like ghosts trapped in an endless routine. The emerald-skinned girl motioned toward a nearby corridor. The access panel is this way. Jack nodded and followed. The group weaved through the silent facility, avoiding the gaze of the Forgotten. Jack's pulse pounded in his ears. Every step felt like a countdown to disaster. Then suddenly, an alarm blared. Jack spun around. The silver-blue girl was at the control panel, her fingers flying over the keys. I triggered the override. The chamber is unlocking. Jack's eyes snapped to the containment chamber. The glass was starting to crack. The blue liquid swirled as the figure inside began to stir. For the first time, Jack saw the alien's eyes, bright crimson, glowing with raw energy. The silver-blue girl shouted, "We have to go." But it was too late. A door slammed open across the room. The agents had arrived. The chase begins. The first shot rang out before Jack could even react. A bullet whizzed past his head, shattering a nearby monitor. Sparks flew. "Move," the emerald-skinned girl yelled, grabbing his arm and pulling him toward the corridor. Jack barely had time to think. He ran. Behind him, the agents stormed into the room, weapons raised. The Forgotten didn't react. They just kept moving, oblivious to the chaos unfolding around them. Jack glanced back just in time to see the containment chamber explode. A wave of blue energy erupted from the shattered glass, sending a shockwave through the facility. The force knocked the agents off their feet. Jack felt his body lifted, thrown backward by the blast. He hit the ground hard. His ears rang. His vision blurred. Then, through the haze, he saw it. The fourth alien, the one they had freed, was awake. They floated above the ruined chamber, their bodies still dripping with the strange liquid. Their crimson eyes burned like fire. Jack barely had time to process what was happening before the alien raised a hand. A pulse of energy ripped through the facility. The walls buckled. Machines short-circuited. The air itself hummed with raw power. The agents didn't stand a chance. They were hurled across the room like ragdolls, their weapons torn from their hands. Jack struggled to push himself up. "We need to get out of here." The silver-blue girl grabbed his arm. "Run." Jack turned and sprinted toward the exit. The alien girls followed close behind. The entire facility was collapsing around them. The ceiling groaned, cracks spreading through the ancient stone. Pipes burst, spewing steam and liquid across the floor. Sparks rained down as the power grid failed. Jack leaped over debris, barely dodging a falling metal beam. Behind them, The fourth alien turned toward the remaining agents, eyes glowing, expression unreadable. For a moment, Jack thought they were going to wipe out everything. But then, the alien turned away. They weren't here for vengeance. They were escaping too. Jack didn't wait to see what happened next. He ran. A desperate exit. The tunnels ahead shook violently, sending dust and debris tumbling from the ceiling. Jack's lungs burned, his legs screaming for rest, but he didn't dare stop. They reached the final corridor, the same path they had entered from. The grate was ahead, just a few more steps. Then, gunfire. Jack ducked. The agents had regrouped. Bullets tore through the air, ricocheting off the walls. The silver-blue girl threw up her hands. The lights in the tunnel flickered, then shattered. Total darkness. Jack didn't hesitate. He ran blind, guided only by the touch of the alien girls. They reached the grate. The emerald-skinned girl ripped it open, shoving Jack through first. One by one, they scrambled back into the tunnels, just as a massive explosion rocked the underground facility. The last thing Jack saw before the tunnel collapsed behind them was the fourth alien disappearing into the darkness. Then, silence. Jack gasped for breath, coughing against the dust. He turned to the alien girls. "Tell me we're done." The violet-eyed girl shook her head. "No," she said softly. Jack swallowed. Then what happens next? She met his gaze, her glowing eyes filled with something he didn't quite understand. "We run," she whispered, "and we never stop." A new beginning. The tunnels trembled behind them, collapsing into darkness as dust and debris filled the air. Jack coughed, his lungs burning as he pulled himself to his feet. His hands were scraped, his clothes torn, but he was alive. Beside him, the three alien girls stood still, their glowing eyes reflecting the dim light of the emergency lamps lining the abandoned sewer passage. The facility was gone. The forgotten were buried. The agents, if any had survived, were cut off. But something was missing. Jack turned sharply, scanning the darkness. The fourth alien. The crimson-skinned figure that had floated in the containment chamber, radiating raw power, was nowhere to be seen. Jack exhaled sharply. "Where is?" Before he could finish, a deep rumble came from beneath them. The ground beneath his boots vibrated with an ominous energy, as if something ancient was shifting far below. The violet-eyed girl stiffened. "He's still down there," she whispered. Jack swallowed. "And that means what, exactly?" The silver-blue girl's gaze darkened. "It means he is free." Jack ran a hand through his hair, exhaustion pressing down on him like a weight. "That's not comforting." The emerald-skinned girl looked back at the collapsed facility. "We need to move. The agents will find another way in. And when they do, they'll come looking for us." Jack nodded. He had no interest in sticking around for another fight. "Where do we go?" The silver-blue girl hesitated. "We know of a place, a ship hidden far from here." "But," Jack frowned. "But what?" The violet-eyed girl's expression softened. "You would have to leave Earth." Jack blinked. The words hit him like a brick. Leave Earth. Everything he had ever known. His city. His home. The world he had spent his entire life in. Was that really an option? Jack looked around at the dark tunnel. The life he had before, his quiet nights exploring forgotten places, chasing history, was gone. The government knew his face now. He was no longer just some wanderer. He was a fugitive. His eyes flickered back to the alien girls. He had only known them for a short time, but he had risked everything to save them. And they had risked everything to save him. Could he just walk away now? The silver-blue girl watched him carefully, as if she could see the storm of thoughts in his head. "You don't have to decide now," she said gently. "But time is not on your side." Jack let out a slow breath. "Let's move. We'll figure it out later." The emerald-skinned girl nodded, and together they set off through the tunnels. A dangerous world. They traveled through the underground network for what felt like hours, moving carefully through forgotten passageways that only the alien girls seemed to know. Jack had no idea where they were heading, only that they were putting as much distance between themselves and the facility as possible. At some point, they reached a hidden exit, emerging into the open air. Jack inhaled deeply, the fresh scent of the night sky hitting him like a wave. They were outside the city now, in a desolate stretch of abandoned industrial land. Old warehouses loomed in the distance, their broken windows glinting under the pale moonlight. The violet-eyed girl pulled her cloak tighter around herself, her glowing skin dimming as she blended into the shadows. "We are not safe yet." Jack scanned the horizon. "Do you have a way out of here?" The silver-blue girl nodded. "A transport. But it's not close." Jack sighed. "Of course it isn't." They moved quickly, sticking to the shadows, their footsteps silent against the cracked pavement. Jack's mind raced. He still had so many questions. Who was that fourth alien? He finally asked. The emerald-skinned girl hesitated before answering. "His name is Varian. He was one of us. A long time ago." Jack frowned. "One of you? Then why was he locked up?" The silver-blue girl's gaze darkened. "Because he was too powerful. The government feared him. They wanted to use him, but they could not control him." Jack exhaled slowly. They had freed something dangerous, and now it was out there. "Is he going to come after us?" Jack asked. The violet-eyed girl didn't answer immediately. "He will do what he thinks is right, but his idea of justice is not always kind." Jack's stomach twisted. Great, just what they needed. An unstoppable alien with a grudge. The final decision. Hours passed before they finally reached the hidden transport. Jack's breath caught in his throat. It wasn't just a vehicle. It was a ship. Hidden beneath layers of rusted metal and broken debris was a sleek alien craft, barely visible under the faint glow of the rising sun. Its hull was dark, smooth, almost alive, pulsing with energy. Jack ran a hand over its surface. "This thing actually works." The silver-blue girl nodded. "It is old, but it will take us far from here." Jack took a step back. This was it. The moment he had to decide. Leave Earth, or stay and risk everything. The alien girls watched him, their expressions unreadable. Jack inhaled deeply. He had spent his whole life chasing mysteries, searching for the unknown. And now, he had found it. No, it had found him. Jack let out a slow breath. Then, finally, he turned to them and smiled. "Let's go." The violet-eyed girl's lips curled into a soft smile. "You won't regret this." Jack chuckled. "Oh, I definitely will. But hey, regret is just another kind of adventure, right?" The silver-blue girl activated the ship's controls. The hull shimmered as the hidden entrance slid open, revealing the glowing interior. Jack took one last look at the sky above. His home. His past. Then, without another word, he stepped inside. The ship hummed to life. The engines flared. The ground trembled beneath them. And as the sun rose over Earth, Jack left it behind. Forever.